Fellow auto detailers, welcome to the show that features interviews with today's most successful auto detailers. This is the Auto Detailing Podcast. Here's your host, Jimbo Balaam.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to this episode of the Auto Detailing Podcast. Obviously, I'm Jimbo, your host. Today's episode is brought to you by autofiber.com, and what I want you to do is sign up for the Towel of the Month Club. This is kind of taking the industry by storm, this Towel of the Month Club, mainly because it's such a great deal, and it gives you the opportunity to kind of try a different towel every month. And it's funny, I still have actually, well, depends who you ask. If you ask my wife, I don't have it anymore. But between you and I, since we'll keep it our little secret, I have a subscription to socks. I like socks, and I like to get them every month. And in fact, it's become my favorite thing to get. It comes in a nice box, and I get to pick out my patterns. And anyway, I'm getting too into socks. But the Towel of the Month Club by Autofiber gives me that same feeling every time. In fact, I start anticipating it every time throughout the month, waiting for what towel is it going to be. So you too can have that same feeling if you go over to autofiber.com, check out the Towel of the Month Club. And of course, you can use my offer code. That's just code Jimbo, nice and simple. And it's going to actually save you some money on the Towel of the Month Club and any other towels that you may find that you need on Autofiber's website. So sign up for the Towel of the Month Club, and I hope you guys enjoy this week's episode. All right, what's up, everyone? Welcome to this episode of the Auto Detailing Podcast. Today, I have another reoccurring guest who we're just talking about how he always is willing to kind of stick his neck out on the line for the greater good of us because he tries all these different innovative kind of sometimes very unique marketing tactics that actually work or end up working, but he's willing to talk about them before they actually do or before he actually has a result. I've been on the show a few times. His name is Paul Frasco with Pro and Local Detailing. I almost said mobile detailing, which you are, but you're not just mobile detailing. Paul, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me on
again. Of course, man, it's always fun. And we kind of had to rally each other together because we're doing this on a Friday afternoon. It's getting late into the afternoon for me and where I'm at, and Paul's 3 hours ahead, and it sounds like it might be date night tonight. So we kind of had to rally each other's spirits and be like, let's just knock this out. For the greater good of the detailing community, Paul, we had to get this recorded.
Yeah, it's hectic Friday. Jimbo, are you off on weekends? Or do you still work?
So detailing-wise, I usually will work Saturdays.
Okay.
I try not to, but getting into the summer months, it just seems like every Saturday is booked. I don't work Sundays, but because of the podcast and because of YouTube and all that, I feel like I'm always working. So like this episode, I'll probably record it right now and then wait till Sunday night to like edit it and splice it together and then upload it. Cause so I feel like I'm always doing something, which I think a lot of us are, right? If you're not physically detailing, you're doing market research, you're looking at products, you're paying attention to Facebook forums and all that. So,
oh yeah, that stuff never ends.
It never ends. So, or customer calls, emails, whatever. So,
the way I have it is I don't detail on the weekends, Saturday, Sunday. None of my guys do, and I don't even answer the phone. But so I'm like completely shut off. But then I can still, I got to work on my website all weekend.
I think that's a good point, and we didn't talk about bringing this up, but I don't mind spending some time here, is that you have to, and maybe you can expand upon this too if you want, like, I think that's good to set that boundary, right? Like, I don't work the weekends, I'm off, like, yeah, you could fiddle fart doing whatever you want to do with your website or whatever, but like setting that boundary to the client, I feel like is super important. Have you always done that, or is that something that's new?
After working maybe 80 days in a row, like consistently, and having maybe being out at like 5 o'clock being like an early day, like when I first started to get real busy, this was a couple of years ago. So I'm going on like maybe 2 years of being closed on weekends. But I just got so burnt out, and I just I was nervous about losing business by being closed on Saturdays, and now like I've already doubled, the previous year, and I didn't lose any business at all. Maybe I lose a couple customers here and there that can only do a weekend, but I'm flexible. I don't close at 5 either. So Monday through Friday,
right,
I'll stay open later. So I make it work, but if the customers want you, they'll
Totally.
flex for you too, you know?
Totally. And it's hard. It's funny. It's not funny actually at all, but I see a lot of these guys, just working to the bone, right? And kind of using it as a bragging right, which I understand because us as detailers are hard workers, right? But at the end of the day, it's like, dude, you're going to like run yourself into the ground. It's not cool. So I try to make sure if I do work a Saturday that I take a day off during the week from detailing, or half day, or kind of what my schedule is kind of morphing into right now. Honestly, is I detail like half days, so I'll be out from like 8 to noon, and then kind of from noon to 4 or 5 is when I do kind of my other shenanigans, and then usually pick that back up about 5 to 8 is family time, and then 8:30 to whenever I am like I can't take this anymore is doing other stuff too for work usually. Oh. But yeah, burnout, man, is a real thing, and I really encourage these guys, especially that are doing 100-hour details, to catch a break, $400 for whatever, even if it's, I don't know, man. If you're doing a 100-hour detail, I don't know, maybe get some help. I don't know.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah, the burnout's a real issue we need to address.
It is a real issue, man, and I think guys underestimate it because it's a serious problem, and because we're so passion driven, right? And it's like, or like you said, maybe guys have decided to go full time and they're scared to miss out on business. But I think setting boundaries with clients has been like one of the most important things that I've done.
Not even just boundaries, but it's like a work-life balance. You don't want to all be working the whole time, because then you'll end up hating what you do eventually, or missing out on important things in life. You'll regret it later.
Yep, definitely. So, Paul, I know there's a couple things that we just talked about last time we had you on at the mall and stuff like that. Some things that haven't quite developed to the point yet where you can kind of talk about it. But what are some newer things that you've been testing out, trying out, things that are working, things that maybe didn't work in the past that worked for a little bit, things that you're thinking of, contemplating doing? What's kind of new in your world?
I don't think we talked about them all on a podcast. I think that might have been just a phone call between me and you.
Oh, okay. So
yeah, I can give a little preview of that because that's in the works. But
let's do it.
I actually went to my local mall, and I had a stack of flyers I had to get rid of, and I just kind of dumped them off at the mall. I littered them everywhere, like on tables and chairs and things like that, in the food court. And but I was like, well, maybe I'll get a call. But I got one call from the mall, like staff, and they sounded kind of angry on the voicemail, and they're like, please give me a call back. I would like to have a talk with you.
Was this just a phone call we had? Because I remember this story. Whoa.
Yeah,
that trips me out.
Yeah, I think it was a phone call.
That was just a phone call.
yeah, but
all right, keep going.
But I'll we can talk about it like when I actually get it going. But
it's a good story though.
It was just hilarious because I was like, oh great, I'm gonna get a charge for like littering or something. So I just called the guy back anyway. I'm like, well, here it has my number, like, and he's like, yeah, I'd like to. I looked into your company. I saw your flyer at the mall. I'm the business development manager here, and I want to have a talk with you about setting up a detail service here if you're interested. So I'm like, okay, well, let me meet you in person before we get too far, because I'm kind of old school and I got to meet you first before we do any business. So I just met up with him, and they got like some TV screens in the mall and a couple of parking garages, and he was like, yeah, you can have a commercial playing on the TV, and you can be, have a guy here, or you can be here and offer a detail service at the mall, like for people shopping or employees of the mall, and all you have to do is pay for the advertisement, and you can use the parking lot. And I'm like, okay. And there's another detailer doing it at a mall like maybe an hour from here that I know that this guy manages that mall too. So he's like, yeah, it's working great for this guy. He's been doing it for 7 years. So yeah, it's still in the works. I'm working out. We were fighting with the insurance forever on it. The company wanted me to get like a $3 million umbrella, and I'm like, I already have good insurance. I'm not doing that because it would double my rate per year just for that one account. I'm not doing that. So
and would you
I
be
had
setting
a
up
lawyer?
Go ahead. Sorry.
I had basically the lawyers of the mall were looking at at my company and looking at like the proposal, and my insurance guy was like fighting with their insurance guy over email and over the phone, and finally they waived that umbrella that's needed. But
and the mall wanted that, or the
every contractor that they work with, they require this obscene amount of insurance. But I mean, it makes sense if you're doing construction, things like that. But I'm vacuuming a car, and I already have very good insurance. I'm overinsured as it is.
Right.
But so I'm like, how is my insurance not good enough right now?
And what is the setup going to look like down in the parking garage? So you're going to have like the TVs going inside the mall. Are you going to does it have like are you going to be able to put like a sandwich board sign at the entrance and exit of the I'm assuming it's a parking structure, right?
I didn't even get that far yet to ask them that, but
okay.
I did have that idea, like as to have some signs placed around like when we're there.
Right.
And
are you thinking about putting a crew there?
TV screens aren't everywhere.
Right.
There's just a handful of them.
And how are you thinking about staffing it? Are you going to put its own dedicated crew there, or haven't gotten that far yet?
Yeah, I think I'm going to delay him as much as I can because I'm training another guy, but I might have I have a second van that I bought, and I just have to put the equipment in it and get it all installed and hooked up, which is going to take me a while because it's busy season now for all of us.
Right.
So trying to find downtime to get all that stuff taken care of is tough. But I eventually think if I can have my mobile van set up like a second one there, it's always parked there, and I can just have a guy drive his car up for the day, and he'll have a key, and that's his mobile shop, and he could just work there.
Then
you know what I mean?
Yeah. Then you don't have to worry Then you don't have to worry about him driving the van, I guess, unless you need to refill it with water or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it could be used to go out on a mobile job from there, but like it can kind of be parked there, so it's not taking up space in my shop parking lot. But also,
so you're actually getting like storage and visibility and another shop.
like a drop-off location. They don't even have to be from the mall. I can just be like, drop off at the mall, and my employee will do it.
That brings up another thing I think you're really good at, Paul, and I want to stress a little bit is like really kind of juicing the lemon and taking taking just like that as a perfect example, kind of taking like really getting all the things out of one thing, right? Like really, I'm trying to think of a better way to phrase it, but like really utilizing everything out of any opportunity. You know what I mean? Not just looking at it like, oh, okay, yeah, that'd be cool to have like a location at the mall, but like, no, we're going to do advertising over here. We're going to do this over here. I need a parking spot for my van anyway, so we could leave it there. Blah blah. And I'm sure you've thought that out all the way down to the probably negotiating where you are in the parking structure.
Not yet. Like I said, it's still.
But you thought about
worked out a little bit, but there's some things I haven't even had time to think about yet. But that's completely. If you're thinking profits. You want to be profitable and efficient, you got to think about how to get the most out of everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So.
What else you got for us?
But I think the main thing that was going on the last month or so, which is still in the works, but there was a local dealership. Let's just say. Yeah, it was a Ford dealer that contacted me. The Ford dealership was not happy with the detail department and the place they're currently using. But so they reached out to me and wanted me to see if I can take over the account. And it's been a big learning experience. Because we don't do a lot of dealer work. We'll do some overflow stuff or some specialty stuff, but 75% retail work. And I learned a ton from it because, it's not every opportunity is a good one. That's where you,
for sure.
That was the number one thing I learned from the whole thing, talking to some other, some coworkers and good friends in my, in the Detail Mafia group that I'm in.
Mm-hmm.
I learned a ton from them. Like, they're great. But, some really experienced guys in that group, and opened my eyes. It was insane, just that one quote. That it was like, not every opportunity is a good one. The real, true, experienced business owner knows when to say no to an opportunity that's not good for his business.
What was not good, and I obviously don't have to get into too many specifics, numbers wise or whatever, but what was it that, was there something that you didn't think about that when you got some counsel from other people that kind of shed some light on something that made it not profitable, or what was it going to be that made it not profitable? Was it as simple as just like the price they were willing to pay?
Yeah, pretty much that. But like, it sounds like a good opportunity. Like, oh, this place is a nice dealership. They just renovated it like a couple years ago, and they have like, every dealer is probably like, yeah, we have like 200 cars that go through here a month. And then when you actually start working there, I bet a ton of people will agree with me. You start working there and you're like, it's like 40 cars a month.
Okay. Right. Yeah.
And then, cause they want you in the door. So, but I just did some calculations. That's really what it came down to. Cause they were like, well, when I asked all the right questions to the sales manager, and I took all the info and then I did some calculations that I'm like, yeah, this isn't going to work. Cause he basically told me, X amount of dollars per car they're going to pay for like a recon cleaning, and then like a new car that they sell, they'll pay X amount of dollars, but they want you open Monday through Saturday during their hours of their service center. So it's about 50 hours a week that they're open. And that, cause they sell some retail details too that they want you to do. So
in between,
a regular customer comes in, in between the recons and the new car preps, they want you to do a regular detail for one of their clients and almost like take a walk up in a way, So
right.
It's like you have to have guys there for 50 hours a week. And they're like, yeah, the current company we have, I'm sick of micromanaging them. I don't work for this detail company. I work for the Ford dealer, And they're like, well, I'm having to help them out and redo car. We have a lot of cars that go back to be redone and things like that. And they're just kind of rushed. I think they need two guys. They have like a guy and a half here. I think they need two full-time guys to properly get the work done. And I'm like, okay, so how many cars realistically are you doing? And he gave me like a range. He's like between 50 and 70, so
right.
I'm like, okay, so this is how I'm going to calculate it. I'm going to take the minimum, the bottom number. I'm going to be like, okay, 50 cars a month, for example, here's their price that they want to pay for detail. And then I'm like, how many new cars do you sell a month? And he's like, oh yeah, we sell like anywhere from 25 to 45. And I'm like, okay, that's a big
month?
range. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
It's a big Ford dealer, Ford in Lincoln. But
25 to 45 cars a month, you said?
Yeah, that's what he said.
Okay.
But so I just said 25.
Okay.
So 25 cars. And I'm like, okay, so let me add up what that would gross per month on the minimum. I'm not.
Right.
You don't want to calculate it with like.
Right.
Top of the number of the range that they tell you.
Yeah, because he's definitely inflating that.
Scenario.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm saying worst case scenario. Let's just say the minimum. And I'm like, okay, so this account may gross like, let's say I did it multiple by month and then by week by year. Okay, so this account might gross $82,000 a year. And I'm like, and that sounds great, especially if you're adding it to what you're already doing, right?
Sure.
Would you love to add $82,000 to your income
right.
like right now? Like anyone would say, yeah, like that's, they'll buy my Porsche. and have some left over.
Right.
So
is that what you want, a Porsche?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Which
I'm
one?
getting a 911 pretty soon.
Okay. Good for you.
Yeah, I want a 997.
Okay.
I'm thinking like a Carrera S.
There you go.
But
sorry,
yeah.
Tangent.
Yep. So yeah, that sounds great, right?
Right.
Oh, 82,000. This account is a gold mine or whatever. This is a jackpot.
Right.
Not really, because then I did the expenses. What would it cost? So I talked to my insurance guy and got a rough. I'm like, I don't need an exact quote. Just give me an idea of what it would add to my insurance to have 2 more guys over there. And he gave me, a quote on that, like an idea of what I can expect to pay. And then I'm like, okay, so if this volume is correct, it's like the volume I'm doing right now in my company at the shop. So I'm like, okay, let me look at my chemical cost, because if it's the same amount of cars, like on average, it's just about the same.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, so I doubled my chemical cost, because if they're not providing chemicals there, So I'm like, well, that's going to double my chemical cost because it's the same amount of cars that we're doing. So that's identical. So I just added that into the equation, insurance, and then I did a true payroll estimate where I'm like, okay, 2 guys full time at, let's say I do $1 above minimum wage to start. So, and then so I did the $1 above minimum wage, 40 hours plus added the 10 hours of overtime, which added, that overtime pay.
Yeah, it gets expensive.
And I got that number, and then you got to add like 35% on top of that to cover the FICA, the Social Security, Medicare, the workers' comp, the payroll fees, all those taxes and stuff. It's roughly like 35% is a good estimate on that stuff, what it's going to cost. So I added that, and guess what the expenses would be for this account if I decided to take it on. I got 2 full-time guys.
100,000.
Which is what you need. It's what you need to get the work done.
Right.
Per year. And so what would the minimum expense be, you think?
100,000.
You're close. It came up to 96,000 and some change.
Wow.
I'm like, okay, cool. So I'll be like negative 14 grand for the year. That's great.
I mean, and even
sign me up.
I mean, even if it wasn't over, right? Just say it came in at like 80,000 or 60,000. I guess that's when you start needing to think about
scenario,
it.
You break even.
Yeah, and then it's like, well, how do you put a price tag on headache, right? Because that's like best case scenario is everything goes smooth, right?
Yeah, no matter what you're negative, because if you take that headache that it's going to cause into effect and downtime for me to go there and manage it, it's not worth it. So I just what I'm going to do now is give them a counter offer, I think. Because I got a number of what would be profitable to be over there, and it's literally like almost double what they said they would pay per car.
It's really interesting.
So they said like 95 a car, and I'm like, okay, if they do 165 a car, it's profitable.
Right. It's interesting. My wife and I were just kind of having this discussion as she's looking at opening up a little makeup studio for her business, and you start adding in overhead, and then you start looking at what you have to charge to cover overhead. And I started thinking about it for a detail shop, or employees or whatever. And it's like, you know what? I think every detailer should do that exercise, whether you're a mobile detailer or have a shop or whatever. You really need to know your numbers, right? And then if you're mobile specifically, run the numbers as if you had overhead and look at what your break-even numbers are, and that's what you should be charging. Well, you shouldn't be charging break-even numbers, but you should be factoring in overhead, right?
You should be aware of that number.
Be aware of that number, because how do you grow and scale?
And you got to add profit to it,
and then you got to add profit.
That's what you charge.
Exactly. And so I think if more detailers did that, it would slowly raise the price of every detailer's number, right? Because you start looking at $150 detail in a totally different light of like exactly the conclusion you came to, like, I can't do that because I'm actually losing money.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I'm not going to, it's okay if you need to break even or whatever every once in a great while, but you can't run a business off that, right? So it's like my wife and I kind of went through that same exercise with a few different things, and so I did it with detailing, and it's like, man, you really do have to be, obviously depending on where you are in the country, but like above the $200 range, I would say, or else
200 what an hour?
Well, I would say at least.
Oh, 200 for like a detail?
Yeah, for like a detail, but then you brought up a good point. How many hours is that taking you? So I would say at least 100 an hour, right? Like you got to be at least 100 an hour if you're mobile.
I'd say more than that.
Probably even more than that, depending on what your ambitions are for it, right? But yeah, if you got a shop, I mean, I would think you got to be pushing 200 an hour. Or just have employees, you gotta, but I think it's a good exercise to kind of open your mind to like, whoa, this is really how much I need to be charging, and kind of get comfortable with charging that amount of money, right? Because I think that's a lot of detailers get uncomfortable with charging amounts for a service that they themselves would be uncomfortable charging or paying. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So it's hard to charge.
Like they feel guilty charging too much, or they're nervous.
Yep.
But we can sum up the whole podcast right now and make here's the lesson you learn from this one.
Tell us.
Is everyone that's listening, just charge more money. That's it.
Good point.
Just charge more money.
Just charge more and get comfortable with.
Like if every detailer listening to this podcast added money to their job, to their prices, and charged more money and charged what they should be making. Don't be afraid of losing customers.
Yep.
And then any detailers that you're networking with in your local area that you're talking to, tell them, sit them down, get coffee with them, pay for their coffee. It's $2, and be like, dude.
And you'll be able to pay for it when you charge more.
Yeah. What's your price list? And this is what I'm charging. We should raise it together, and then the hacks will. There's the few hacks that are here and there that pop up. They come and go. I call that like part of the food chain. There's got to be something at the bottom, but because there's going to be customers that will never pay over a certain amount of money either. So someone's got to do their car.
Yep. Yeah.
But the majority can raise their prices, and guess what that does for the market? It's like the customer's got nowhere to go. Everyone says $500 for a full detail. Guess what? They're going to have to pay $500. Now it just comes down to who they want to do business with.
Yep. I love that, Paul. If people want to connect with you, how can they find you? How can they do all the things we told each other we were going to keep this one short? So I think you summarized it perfectly. Know your numbers, charge more, and get comfortable with that, and be profitable, man. Have this be a hobby, but people will pay a higher premium and a higher price if you can deliver on that service.
Even if you do it, even if you just do it on the side, like why
even
not
if you
more?
Just do it on the side. Yep.
Exactly.
Yep. So how can people find you? How can they get a hold of you?
I probably can't take too many phone calls because we're slammed with work.
Yep.
But you can always text me or find me on Instagram. It's just Pro and Local, PROANDLOCAL. That's my company. Or you can feel free to email me. It's just paulfrasco@gmail.com.
Awesome, man. Thanks again for taking the time to come on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's always good to talk to you.